Okay, we are going to attempt a tutorial here on creating a class diagram in Visio. Going to open up Visio. This is Visio 2013. If you look, there is a diagram for UML class. Now, if it's not right here in the start, like mine is, it will be under software. You can click under software, and it should be one of the ones under software. Notice there's a lot of UML diagrams under software. You want to make sure that you select UML class because that is the class diagram. Okay. So I'm going to select that and click create, and this opens up my Visio work area with my class diagram. I usually go ahead and make my work area larger. Now what we're going to do, we need to start dragging some classes over there. You just basically drag and drop. So you're going to click on class, drag it over here, and this creates my first object. Okay. And then I will have, I think we need to create 4 objects: patient, physician, bill, and appointment. So I'm going to make my first object, which is patient. Okay. And I don't really like this one because it's hard to see where the borders are. So you can always kind of come in here if you click on design and kind of mess with it and get one that you like that shows you a little better. I'm going to go with just basic outline there. I think it's a little easier to see. The ones above the line, these are the attributes. They're like adjectives. They describe things about the patient. Under the line, or what we call methods, they are actions that patient can perform. So we're going to have more than one of each of these. So you just sit here, see the member over here. You just click it and drag it up into the box that you want it in. So let's give us about 4 attributes, and let's go with 3 methods. Okay. So we have a patient object, and the patient object now has 4 attributes and 3 methods. And I can rename these attributes. Let's say we have a patient ID. And we have last name, and we have first name, and you just double click to be able to change the name. And let's put contact info. Okay. So there's my patient. These are the attributes about the patient that I need to track. You might think of it a lot in terms of a database, table and fields in the database. And now below this, these are the methods, and the methods are the actions. So what can patient do? Well, maybe we can either call it new or we can add. We can change. And we can view. Okay. So we have a patient, okay, as our first object, and we need to track patient ID, last name, first name, and contact info about each patient. We would probably want to keep track of insurance information in there also, but since our book tells us to leave the insurance company out of it, I didn't put in insurance information in there. And then in our methods, we have what can patient do. Well, we can have new patient, we can change patient information, we can view patient information. Okay. So that's the basic of creating a class or an object in our class diagram. Now if we want to create another one, we just drag it over here, and there's our next one again. And we add some more attributes and some more methods. And let's call this one physician. Okay. And we maybe we need a physician number or ID. Just a unique identifier. If you think again about a database, you always have to have that key, that primary key, that unique identifier. So we're going to have physician ID, and then maybe last name, first name, I always get that. There we go. And contact info. And then, let's see, we probably and let's put like billing rate in here. Okay, so we have physician, okay, and we have patient. You notice that there's a lot of similar information between the two. That's because, honestly, patient and physician would both be members of a bigger class, if we were to say, people. And the people class would have, say, last name, first name, contact info. And this is what we talk about, the classes and then objects within the class and inheritance. Because if we have last name, first name, and contact info, under people, okay, since both of these two inherit from people, they have the same attributes as people do. And you can see here's our inheritance. And you gotta love the arrows in Visio. I know they're kind of a pain. And the inheritance arrows go from the child to the parent. Okay, so we have, come on now, there you go. We have both patient and physician are basically children of the class people, so they inherit the attributes in people. So we notice patient and physician both have last name, first name, and contact info as part of their attributes, because they are both of the people class. Now, you're not required in your class diagram to put the people class in there, but if you were to make a more generalized class where they talk about abstract classes in the book, people would be an abstract class. That's a very general class that we can put these two objects in. One of the reasons why they like these generic classes in object-oriented analysis and object-oriented programming is that I can take this generic class here, and wherever I have a system that requires me to include people, I can pull this generic class down into it and just add the additional attributes that I need. Like for patient, I would pull people down and I would just have to add in patient ID and methods. And you can also include methods in people in a generic class. If there are certain methods that I may use with both patient and physician, say I'm going to do new for both, and then I can also have a method in there that carries down to both of my child objects. The thing with the the generic classes, all of the attributes and methods in there have to carry down to any child or objects that are in that class. So usually they're kept fairly generic. But again, the purpose is that I don't have to recreate all of this. I can just pull down a generic class of people or an object into my object-oriented design, and it comes with last name, first name, contact info, and new. So I don't have to add all of that in there. Again, I just kind of add the additional. Okay. So we have our patient, we have our physician. We then need, let's say, appointment. Okay. And I'm not going to fill in all of the attributes and methods for appointment, but then you have to look at our associations and aggregations. Okay, so we're not going to use a composition. I'm not going to be real picky with this, okay, between the differences between association and aggregation, but you need to look at how they're related. So if I pull an association here between patient and appointment, okay, and then I may need to put like patient has an appointment. Okay, so the patient has an appointment. Okay, and again, doctor. Okay, I may do physician has a patient. Okay, there we go. So, you know, the patient has an appointment, physician has a patient. And maybe maybe a physician is, whoops, my little box disappeared there, is assigned an appointment. So you just kind of see this, and you guys probably recognize this if you remember back to the one-to-many, many-to-many relationships that we talked about early on. This is very similar. I'm not real worried about, like if you do the aggregation, there's little diamonds involved in pointing the directions and so forth. You know, that's technically very correct, but I just want you to get the basic down. Make sure that you have your classes, your objects, and again you would need one more object there, which is bill. Okay, and you would need to make an association with that. Okay, and you know, of course there's going to be other associations, patient with patient bill, physician with patient bill, but this should give you an idea, okay, of how to kind of set it up in Visio. Again, I said online on Angel that you do not have to use Visio for this. You can do it in Word if you wish. I think that Visio is fairly easy for this kind of diagram. The hardest thing is the arrows, which is why I'm not being real particular about those. They're by far the hardest thing with the Visio with this, but I think you can do this, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or anything, please feel free to email me or text me, and that should be it. Remember to save it and submit it as a Visio file, and I will hopefully see you all. Well, actually, y'all have a good spring break. Remember, we have Chapter 10 is due this week, and then we are on spring break. Then when we get back from spring break that week, all you have to do is review for the final and finish up your analysis report. So between now and the week after spring break, you have the Chapter 10 due and the analysis report and your exam. So it's a little bit of a break for you. So hopefully you can get all caught up, and I will talk at you later. Bye.